I'm very glad it was televised. It's something we've been pressing them to do for the last few years. I only learnt this week it was going to happen. And it was an extraordinary combination of ancient and modern, a very ancient ceremony, going right back to the Middle Ages, when often succession to the crown was contested. There were rival claimants. And so it was very important for the legitimate heir to be recognised and proclaimed as the rightful, lawful new king, as happened this morning. So that's the history behind the Accession Council and the reason why the proclamation was then read from the roof of St James's Palace and then in the Royal Exchange, and in the days to come will be read in different parts of the kingdom, because in the Middle Ages it would have taken several days for the news gradually to spread outwards to the more distant parts of the kingdom that the new king is the rightful, lawful heir. So we'll see the proclamations, I think, tomorrow in Edinburgh and possibly Cardiff and Belfast as the news ripples out around the kingdom. And of course, thanks to modern technology, it's already spread around the world.
Suzannah, what were your thoughts and feelings on seeing those scenes this morning?
Well, absolutely. It was that combination of seeing something absolutely historic. As Robert said, it dates back to the Anglo-Saxon feudal assembly and the election of a leader, but actually the modern, in inverted commas, Accession Council is only from 1603. And we've got, as he said, this experience of the word being passed around about who is the new king, and all of the oaths that needed to be sworn about the use of the Privy Seal, dating back to a time when that was the only way to authenticate the king's wishes. And yet we had that happen in a room with a relatively diverse body of people, with a woman presiding over as Lord President of the Council, and we had it televised. And it's this combination of tradition and modernity that we're seeing here. We're seeing the king making the steps and making the announcements that we would expect from him, but we're also seeing an element of his personality coming through. We saw his decision to make what appeared to be an impromptu walkabout yesterday, and then greeting members of the public and allowing himself to be kissed, which is certainly something that wouldn't have been happening back in the 1950s. We see it today with the decision to, I think, send out, as it were, his two sons, William and Harry, and their wives to look at tributes and to meet the public. And there's a sense in which something of that stiff upper lip, that reserve that we have associated so much with the monarchy is now being subtly shifted. That there's something slightly less reserved, something slightly more open, that the emotion is a bit more palpable and that we're being allowed in. And I think that combination, therefore, of the ancient and this shift gently towards the modern is very important.
Professor Hazell, I mean, this time yesterday we were ticking down to that speech from the king. What did you feel about it? What does it perhaps tell us about what sort of king he'll be?
It was a much longer speech than I had expected. It was more heartfelt. It revealed what a deeply sensitive man he is, and that he too has a strong religious faith, like the late Queen. And there was an interesting point too, where in effect he said, "I shall reign so long as I shall live." So in this next reign, abdication is unthinkable, as it was during the reign of the late Queen.
And Professor Lipscomb, just briefly, these pictures this afternoon they were known as the Fab Four, William and Harry and Meghan and Kate. What are your feelings about seeing them together again?
I think it's very deliberate. I think it's a way of starting the reign with reconciliation, and that we see that no one is excluded here, that there is no rift. And it has been designed in order to make sure that there aren't continuing stories around that division in the family, that instead what we see is a family united in their grief and in their support for the new king. That is the story that the king wants us to pick up now. And we have this mingling of grief and joy for all of us that we saw played out in their walk around and meeting the public today.
Interesting comments. I want to thank our two professors there. Thank you so much. And I hope we can talk in the coming days. Thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you.